We have Dr. Randeep Guleria, who is a director of our renowned institution of India. Everybody knows it is All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. He is the Indian pulmonologist credited with the establishment of India's first center of pulmonary medicine and sleep disorders at AIIMS. Besides this, he was honored by Government of India in 2015 with Padma Shri, one of the highest Indian civilian award. Also, he is associated with WHO as member of Scientific Advisory Group on Immunization and Influenza Vaccines, Life member of Association of Physicians of India, and serve as a consultant to International Atomic Energy Agency. Dr. Guleria was the personal physician of Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, former Prime Minister of India, and his research finding has been recorded by the way of many book chapters and 286 articles. So, sir, we have because AIIMS, everybody sees AIIMS as one of the institutions where all the guidelines are being formed and all the things we try to replicate AIIMS. And it's the topmost medical institute of country having a population of 1.3 billion. So just want to ask from you, what role can a tertiary care institute like AIIMS New Delhi can play in managing COVID? And can you spell out the role played by your institute in handling COVID-19?
Okay, thank you very much for having me over, and it's indeed a pleasure. As you rightly said, tertiary care institutes, whether it be the All Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, or PGI Chandigarh, have to play a stellar role when we come with such a situation like the pandemic that we're facing. We at AIIMS realized very early that we will have to be involved in a very big way, and we will have to do multiple things to be able to provide directions and also be able to convert our hospital into managing patients who are COVID-19 positive. So we started off in the early part of, I would say, end of February, of having regular meetings, and we still have that every day at 8:30 in the morning with our entire faculty, our nursing staff, our residents, to see what we can do in terms of improving the facility. Because of that, a lot of things were done. We started looking at how do we convert our hospital into areas which could be for COVID care and which could also be for non-COVID patients, because in this time we need to see that while we are focused on managing COVID-19 patients, the non-COVID-19 patients should not also suffer. So strategies were developed. What we did as far as our hospital is concerned, I'll just quickly mention that we converted our trauma center into a COVID hospital, and the trauma patients, because of the lockdown which had become less, we shifted all of that to our main hospital. The newly upcoming burns and plastic surgery center, which was going to take at least 6 months minimum to get ready, we fast tracked that and we converted 2 ICUs there and the ground floor into what we call COVID suspect area, where patients who are suspected to have COVID can be screened, and depending on the report, they can be then shifted either to the COVID positive area or the COVID negative area. We also realized that there is an importance of having training, and therefore we started various webinars and modules, not only for our own residents and our own healthcare workers, but for people across the country with the support and with the guidance of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And a large number of modules have been made as far as training is concerned for infection control, ventilatory management, management of COVID-19. And these are conducted both by our faculty, our residents, and by the nursing college also, so that we are able to train people in various areas as far as this is concerned. As we were going along this path, we also realized that there is a need to look at other things, because we reached a phase when there was this whole issue of shortage of PPEs, and we decided we have to be innovative. And therefore a group got together which started doing some research projects on seeing can we reuse PPEs, and as a research project that used various spores and bacteria on PPEs which had been used, and used various ways of seeing can we recycle PPEs. Did this for 6 or 7 cycles using different methodologies, and then came out with a mechanism where we could say that you could use PPEs if need be in a recycled manner, the high-end PPEs, the level 3 PPEs, and at the same time it was sterile and there was also no harm as far as the fabric was concerned. This has now been given to the Ministry of Health, and this has also been published as a paper as to how you can reuse PPEs if that shortage happens. Along with that, we also decided that we have to look at other things. We started what was known as a Connect facility, which the Honorable Health Minister inaugurated, which was basically to develop a center, which was we did in our guest house, to be able to connect with all physicians in various areas. It could be at a district hospital, it could be at a state hospital, or in any other area, to be able to talk to them and educate them and address their issues in managing COVID-19 patients. Remember, COVID-19 is a new infection. It sometimes leads to acute respiratory distress syndrome. And there are treatment strategies which a person at a primary level may not be well versed with. So by talking to critical care specialists, pulmonologist, infection disease specialist at AIIMS, he can therefore modify his treatment strategy, and it gives him confidence also how to be able to do that. As many hospitals have started, teleconsultation has also started. We started looking at robotic devices and consultations so that our healthcare workers didn't have to go repeatedly into the area where COVID positive patients were available, and they could be, telecommunication could be established. So many things were done. And I think we were able to also come out with a number of guidelines, which the ministry has now adopted as far as this is concerned.
So my second question, sir, is related to those guidelines and standard operating procedures. So everybody looks AIIMS, New Delhi, for SOPs, guidelines, and they are very comfortable replicating them in their own institute. So how do we maintain that collaboration with ministry, with ICMR, with NITI Aayog, with PMO in framing those guidelines, which are changing almost on the daily basis?
Yes, you're very right. The guidelines keep changing because as we learn more and more about the infection and how it behaves, our strategy has to change. Only recently we've changed our discharge policy guidelines based on the data which has emerged that you may be RT-PCR positive, but you are not infectious, and therefore you don't need to stay in hospital for such a long time or have 2 RT-PCR positives. It's a big challenge because you have different organizations involved. But luckily, we have one advantage, that we have our own faculty and our own members whom we talk to each other in the morning, also members of these various bodies, whether it be the ICMR, National Task Force, whether it be the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, the Joint Monitoring Group, or the NITI Aayog, or the PMO. So there is some degree of continuity because we all discuss things in our morning meetings and debate upon all these issues. And they get then translated to other groups which are in various organizations. But I do agree with you that sometimes there becomes conflicting opinions, and especially since it is an evolving and emerging infection, different groups may have different thought process, and it takes some time to get everyone on board.
There is a lot of issues in any institution about coordination and collaboration within departments. So how do you maintain that?
So that is a big challenge. It's not only coordination and collaboration between departments, it's been between different groups. The nurses, the residents, the other the technical officers, and then of course the faculty. So there is a need that we get all of them on board, discuss everything with them, and then work in tandem so that they also realize that their interest is also being looked after, and we are working together as a team. I think that whole message that this is a team effort and we're all fighting a pandemic, and we must sort of not think about our petty issues, but look at the broader picture, is very important to convey to them. Very often, by talking to everyone, by having a group discussion, it helps in getting this over, and getting a lot of faculty on board becomes a big challenge, because faculty from surgical specialties have different issues, from medical specialties have different issues, and the residents have different issues. So it's a challenge to get all on board, and it sometimes means that you have to listen to everyone and come to a acceptable balance.
Yeah, and thank you, sir. Thank you for a very nice discussion on some of the very key topics. And I hope you will continue spearheading and leading this COVID pandemic from the front. And I hope that the condition of COVID-19 will come down soon. So thank you, sir. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sparing your time.
Thank you very much, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.